Hi there, welcome back. My name is Casey and I am here today to do another Iridology reading. And for anyone new to my channel, I do offer these readings for educational purposes. I offer them at a discount for anyone interested in getting an iris reading and having that reading be posted on YouTube. So in this particular reading, there are a few things that are super interesting that I actually haven't covered before in any of my readings. And one of those things is vertigo, which is a fairly common phenomenon. I think we all have either experienced it or know someone who has experienced it. So I'm going to cover what I can see so far, which is fascinating to me, what's showing up in this iris in terms of vertigo. We also we're looking at tinnitus, we're looking at fatigue and anxiety, as well as some depression. Now, I have done another set of videos on anxiety, so if that's a topic that interests you, I have a part 1 and part 2 on how to recognize signs of anxiety as seen in the iris. And I have a part 3 upcoming that I'm going to cover the botanical and dietary and lifestyle shifts that you might be able to make in order to improve that condition in your life. Okay, so let's get started. I just want to do a real quick overview of this person's constitution. And for the most part, this is a male, I believe probably early 40s. Yeah, somewhere in there. And he does have a fairly strong constitution. You can see that in the iris fibers. They are fairly closely woven and straight. Now, he also is dealing with some level of constitutional challenges, and you can see that in the lacuna or the openings in the iris fibers, and those are going to show up as usually they're like oval separations in the iris fibers, and you can see these areas are indicating areas of the anatomy and physiology that are potentially weak, and generally speaking, lacuna are an inherited condition. So you can inherit a weakness and you can make it better or worse depending on how your entire lifestyle, your diet, and all of that. Okay, so but overall, this is a pretty strong constitution. I can see, though, that this person would have to, this is one of those people that, although their constitution is strong, you can see these different areas of weakness. This in the lung area here, and in both eyes, I will say that I have seen some level of challenge in the kidney and adrenal area. So that's coming up in both eyes, as well as some level of concern in the thyroid and parathyroid areas. So this is a person who should enjoy good health, but he will also really need to take care of his body, maintain a sort of moderate lifestyle, and just really focus on the alkaline side of life. Okay, so along with the constitution, I'm seeing that there is a lot of inflammation. So you can see that in the bright white fibers throughout the entire eye. So that inflammation is probably going to be showing up in different forms throughout the body. And another interesting, and I have covered this in at least one, I think 2 other readings that he has asked me to address, is brain fog. Okay, so, and it's the exact same thing I've seen in other readings where you have this heavy congestion up in the head and brain area. So you literally have a fog, a cloudiness and a fog that is really centered in not just the transverse colon. It very well could be attributed to imbalance within the transverse colon, but it looks to me like an overall systemic inflammation and lymphatic congestion. And this cloud or this fog is sort of descended into this head and brain area. And that affects so many aspects of our life. So now, what's really interesting, I want to jump right into this, is the vertigo. So the vertigo and the tinnitus, you would think would lead you to the area of the ear, as well, you know, the inner ear, and we do see some congestion in that area. But I want to highlight right away that in iridology, Bernard Jensen mapped out different brain zones based on different areas of the brain. And he spent his entire life, I think over 60 years, studying iridology and then cross-referencing what he was seeing from his clients. And then he is, ultimately he's known as the father of iridology, at least in the West. So according to Bernard Jensen, this area right in here is actually the balance and dizziness zone. So I have this eye pulled up on my computer software. It gives me a little bit more specificity. Sorry. And you can see it in that, you know, not only from my software, but if you're looking at a Bernard Jensen iris chart, you can see that brain zone as the balance and dizziness center. So I'm going to highlight this area. There's a little bit of darkness, and it was one of the first areas that I noticed in the head and brain. So let's take a look, and so that could absolutely be contributing to the vertigo. All right, so yeah, that whole area is balance and dizziness, and then the medulla, which is another brain zone, does also have a lot of congestion, and Dr. Morse mentions the medulla in reference to dizziness. So that is just, you know, the back of the head area, and that can, especially if there's a lot of tension in that area, that can affect the equilibrium and dizziness. And when you have these weaknesses or challenges in certain areas, these are the areas that you're going to feel most affected by your detoxification. Okay, so if you have these, and it makes sense, if you have these areas of challenge in your life, when you start to detoxify your body by eating fruits and leafy greens and live foods, these symptoms are going to seemingly get worse before they get better. Not always, but quite often. I mean, that's just kind of a standard, it's just a fact of detox that a lot of people experience. But just have faith and it will get better. You also have some, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you have some challenge in the kidney and adrenal area. I would say when I'm looking at both eyes, that would probably be something that is striking me as probably the most important thing that I'm seeing overall for this person's health, is to get the adrenal glands and the kidneys back up to their optimum functioning. So when you have the adrenal glands down, you can also be experiencing some dizziness, weakness, that sort of thing. And then when you have the kidneys down, as I've mentioned a million times in my videos, you are not effectively removing the cellular waste from your body, as the kidneys are one of the most, if not the most important organ of elimination. in the body. Okay, so back up to the head and brain area, we have the brain fog in here, and we have the balance and dizziness center. We have the medulla showing up with some congestion, and then right in this area you can see the ear, and the ear is really close to the neck, and you can see that over in this chart here on the left. So I would say, to me, this whole entire area, this would be the ear and the neck. So the ear having to do, and the back of the ear where that mastoid process is, can have something to do with the condition of tinnitus. And then the mastoid process can have a lot to do with, now I didn't hear this from this person, so I'm not sure if he's experiencing neck tension or any TMJ, but a lot of times those two go hand in hand. But I'm absolutely seeing this weakness in the ear area. So let's get into the digestive system, because the answer to the problems for this person, a lot of relief is going to be found in alkalizing, balancing, and healing the stomach and bowels. So this is the stomach and bowels. The stomach lining specifically is this area, the pupillary margin. So the outer edge of the pupil, and you can see it's a little uneven and especially dark in that pupillary margin. And I would say that there could be some level of gastritis. I would actually be surprised if there wasn't some level of inflammation in that stomach lining. And you can also see, it's interesting when I see the early stages of cataracts, and don't be alarmed, I see this in a lot of eyes and people have perfect vision, but when you see this opacity in the pupil, a lot of times that is indicating the beginning of cataracts, which is another result of systemic inflammation. So what's interesting though is when you can see that opaque nature in the pupil, you can also even better see the pupillary margin, because it is standing out, it's darker, and it almost is sort of like bleeding into that stomach area. So I feel like the inflammation in the stomach lining is consistent throughout the stomach, and I'm also seeing a lot of signs of inflammation and just dis-ease within the whole entire digestive system. And like when we look at this brain fog in here, you would almost think, so we have the pupillary margin here. Oops. Approximately. And then we have the delineation of the bowel wall, also known as the autonomic nerve wreath. You can see that roughly defined in this area. And it's interesting, you can see that there is some stress within the bowels. And when you see this sort of drop in that line, so you would almost assume, see how it drops in there, that would indicate a prolapsus in the transverse colon. But actually the way I'm seeing that, rather than a prolapsus, because I can just faintly see the bowel wall actually maintained up in this area where you would, in the transverse colon, where you would think it would be. So what we're seeing is that this stagnation, this heavy lymphatic congestion has dropped over the intestines and is actually obscuring the definition of the autonomic nerve wreath or the bowel wall. So one might think that that would indicate a prolapsus. What I'm thinking is it's just a lot of heavy congestion in that area. All right, so we are seeing, though, that there's a lot going on in the stomach and bowels, and that the stomach and bowels, the whole entire digestive system, the gut, also known as the second brain, there's a lot of research, being done, that has been done. Hippocrates has mentioned the importance of the health of the gut, and then we're getting some more modern indications of the importance of the gut microbiome and all of that, and even in relation to anxiety. So we're seeing that this area, this central area of this person's iris, and the iris, as we know, in terms of iridology, the way the nervous system works is a perfect reflection of our anatomy and physiology. Okay, so this is where you're going to be starting. You're going to be starting by alkalizing the gut, and I'm recommending that you're doing a lot of green juices. And if you can, my preference, if you have access to wild, clean weeds, especially dandelion, nettle, there's a ton of different herbs you can find in your backyard or in neighboring, parks and things like that, where if you can find them clean and just clean in every sense. So they're weeds because the area's been disturbed, but yet it's not being currently, it's not a current area of high traffic. So those are a few things that you're looking for. But I could go on and on about that, but you're wanting to alkalize your digestive system with green juices, green powders, salads. I'm saying green juices, and you can use a blender to do these juices if you would like. If you don't have a juicer, I actually prefer using a blender. And then I strain the juices, is that you can get a much higher concentration of greens, chlorophyll, and really start alkalizing your entire system. And then you would also have a high fruit diet that you're following. All right, so I'm recommending that for the digestive system and for the entire body. And then in terms of Dr. Morse products, he does have a really nice, the GI Broom is excellent for purifying the whole entire GI tract. And there's also, if you're interested, you can contact me. I have more information on that on my website, but you can also put together your own recipe for colon cleansing. But he's got a really nice formula if you just want to keep it simple. All right, so let's see what else we're going to find in this iris. Okay, I want to look at, so we're seeing the ear, some tension in the ear and the neck, and then of course we saw this balance and dizziness center, which I think is fascinating. And then the next area that I'm noticing is, we're pretty much still in the, so this is all the lung area, and so this whole, you can see from the chart, this is all the lungs. The heart is in here, and then the ribs are down in here. So this whole area, it looks like there has been some stress in that lung area, especially in here. This little lacuna in this area, and then even up in this area would be like the upper lung. And then in terms of the heart, I somewhat drew over it. The heart looks fairly healthy. It looks like there could be some congestion. There is a little bit of a darkness in this area, and that could indicate some genetic history of heart challenges. I think we all have that to some degree. And so here's the heart area, but there's nothing like this huge lacuna or anything, you know, glaring at me. Looks like there could be something in the history, maybe like grandparents or great-grandparents. And that would be the heart area. And then just overall some stress. And I believe this person had some history with having some molds and having to deal with clearing molds out of his body. So that could be related to that lung area. Let's see what else. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a male, and another thing he wanted me to take a look at was if I could see any challenges with the male reproductive system. So he is a dad, and I think that they would like to be having another child. So I'm going to be looking at any signs of weakness in the reproductive system. Okay, but overall, when you have this much lymphatic congestion and inflammation and just overall challenges with the kidney and adrenal and the digestive system, it just means that your whole entire system could be a little bit weakened and challenged. So that could just, you know, that's a simplified way of looking at it, but I am going to take a look and see if I see anything specific. Now, I'm saying all that because this area right here would be is the breast area. So, you know, in a female, it would be, you know, something to be looking at. In terms of male physiology, it's still a significant area because it's a highly, there's a lot, it's an area where there are a lot of lymphatic glands. So it's of high importance in relation to the lymphatic system, and it does look like there is a little bit of weakness in that chest or breast area. Okay. And that's just going to go along with everything else. You're going to be cleaning out the lymphatic system, and you're going to be working on the kidneys in order to accomplish that. It's also the rib area, so breast, chest, rib, and that would be the left side. Now, I want to mention this before I forget, because we're just really close to the digestive system. You see these little, very small lacuna within the bowel wall. So that goes back. There's some in here, in here, in here. That could be diverticuli, pocketing, or it could be, as I mentioned, there's a lot of inflammation and acidity in the stomach and bowels. It could just be areas where the acids have worn down that tissue. We have some more in here. So there's just a lot of acidity, and even these little, very small openings, and this would be more in the small and large intestines. Okay, let's see what else. This area right in here is the spleen. A little bit of a lacuna in that spleen area. Okay, and then this area here is the pelvis, and we are getting into in female, it would be the ovary. So we have so obviously this would be the testes in the male. We have this sort of heavy lymphatic congestion right on that left testy. So that would be right in here. But overall, we're just really close to that whole pelvis area. This lacuna right here would be the pelvis. But I did want to look at the testes just because we're looking at any possible challenges with the, you know, having another child. Which I don't see anything major. I think that perhaps after some time on an alkaline diet, and this is an iris that I, you know, because there's not anything major going on with this person, I would really recommend that you just take it slow. You know, you have a lot of fruit. If you can do fruit throughout the day, or if you can do all fruit in the morning and then a salad for lunch and then maybe more fruit after that. For me, I tend to do better with just doing fruit as long as I can. And then I'll have a salad or a veggie fruit salad. So like cucumber, avocado. The tomatoes can be acidic, but in the summer, a lot of times you can find those really sweet cherry tomatoes and grape tomatoes. And then again, more greens. So I would recommend going at this in a pretty slow way, because this person does also, you know, we're looking at things like anxiety and fatigue and things that really affect your day-to-day lifestyle. So you don't want to knock yourself out detoxing yourself if there's nothing super serious going on. And this is an iris. These are eyes that I would say really just take your time. Don't expect to see dramatic results right away. But even when you switch to an alkaline diet and you start taking herbs that are supportive to the kidneys, the lymphatic system, but you take them, you do that slowly also. I just think that is a really good approach for this person. And I think that, you know, goals with having more kids will be achieved through that approach. All right, so this sort of darker area looks like heavier lymphatic congestion to me. So not acute, but more like chronic lymphatic congestion. And that would be still sort of in the hip area, but getting close to the sigmoid colon. So back to the gut. So this is hip, and then sigmoid colon is right in this area. And the sigmoid colon being that last portion of the large intestine. This is often a place where there is a lot of congestion and a lot of eyes that I've seen, and that is just probably related to the fact that that is the last sort of juncture of the large intestine as it transitions into the rectum. So you really want to make sure that your bowels are moving. However, you need to make that happen. If you have any questions, you can let me know. But yeah, if the GI broom isn't enough, then there's always, if you need to do an enema here or there, or if you need to do a series of enemas, then that can help clean up the bowels. You don't want to get to, you don't want to have that as a habit for a long period of time. But anyway, you want to keep your bowels moving, and this congestion in the sigmoid colon is evidence of that. Okay, and then this area right in here is the thigh foot, and there's like this perfect marking straight from the pupil down through the thigh foot. So there could be, you know, it's always like when you're looking at things like anxiety and depression and low energy and vertigo, it's like, who cares if there's anything going on with the thigh foot, right? But there could be some tension in that area, and it is quite often related to weakness in the kidney and adrenal. So I'm seeing pretty much this whole entire area. There's something going on in this whole area. And that encompasses the kidney and the adrenal, the rectum, and then in terms of male anatomy, so it would be the uterus up in this area right in here for women, and then it would be the prostate for men. So again, another area related to male reproduction. Looks like there is some weakness in that area. So right in here. And then all of this, I mean, it's snuggled right up against the kidney and adrenal. Okay. Could be some congestion here in the bladder. And then I noticed this in the right eye a little bit more, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes, but there could be something going on in the back. I remember seeing that in the right eye where there could be some, this area is the back. It's a little bit dark in this area. So there could be some tension or pain in that back area. Okay. And then this whole section in here is the thyroid and parathyroid. And so we're not surprised to see when you have low energy, when you're susceptible to depression, first thing you're going to look at is your thyroid gland. And it's fairly dark in this area, so that is the whole entire throat chakra, the whole energy of the whole chakra of communication. And then the parathyroid, let's see, would be a little bit lower, like in this area in here. And the parathyroid actually came up, I believe, even more strongly in the right eye. And it's interesting because you can't, I don't remember if it was this eye or the other eye, but this person does have a little bit of like the eyelids that kind of come down, like a drooping eyelid a little bit. And that is a sign of a parathyroid weakness, as the parathyroid governs the connective tissue and the use of calcium in the body. So there could, I'm thinking there's most definitely something going on in the thyroid. As you can see in this whole area, it's a little bit darker, and then very likely the parathyroid as well. And just the whole throat center, so vocal cords, and yeah, let's see if we can, what else we can find in terms of anything going on in the jaw area. We already looked at the ear, so we did see that balance and dizziness, and then the ear and tension in the neck. But I wanted to see if there was anything going on, especially in this area. I mean, this specifically is sort of the nose. Let me see what it might be close to. Yeah, I mean, it's the upper jaw and the nose. So could be something, especially because we are looking at that ear and that mastoid process over here. Could be something going on in the jaw. And then this line right here is the eye. So I don't know, sometimes you see that when, you know, it could even be related to the very early signs of cataracts, but there does look to be some sort of weakness in that left eye. Nothing big, just kind of looking at what's popping out to me. So that would be the eye. This right in here is the esophagus. Kind of jumping around. Sorry about that. If that means anything to you. And then again, just it looks like a lot of tension going on in the back. And then in terms of the rest of the head and brain, we would really need to have this lymphatic congestion. The fact that we could see the balance and dizziness center means that, and we can see it through all that heavy lymphatic congestion, means that that's a pretty chronic issue for this person. And once you start clearing out the lymphatic congestion from the head, so this is another reason why I'm saying like a long-term approach might be best. This is what I recommend, because you've got so much congestion and inflammation in the body that it's actually all the way up into the head area. And a lot of times, you need to get your kidneys filtering, you need to get your bowels moving, and then you'll slowly start to drain the toxicity from your body. And a lot of times you're going to be draining the toxicity that's closest to those organs of elimination, if that makes sense. So the head is often the last place, it's sort of like the last place to show signs. So when you have inflammation, things going on in the head and brain, I'm not saying that's a serious thing. We all have that to some degree. I've seen a lot of people have that. I've experienced that myself. But it just means that the rest of the body very likely is already at a chronic level, and that the toxicity has then spread into that head and brain area. And generally speaking, this area, you will notice improvement right away, but it's going to take a while to clear that out. Could be a little bit of haziness in the periphery of the iris. That could be some challenges with circulation. Not a super well-defined skin ring. It looks to me more like possible anemia or just challenges with circulation. And that's pretty consistent. I don't know if I can draw it consistently, but it is fairly consistent. Okay. And then while we're out here in the sclera, we're seeing signs of inflammation. Other than that, there's nothing that is in a degenerative state in this iris. Pretty strong genetics, and I think it's just going to take some time and patience, and yeah, just enjoy that journey, and just know that you are moving in the right direction. All right, let's take a look at the right eye. I will see you in a second. All right, welcome back. We are on to the right eye. And for anyone following, for educational purposes, the right eye is different from the left, as reflected in our bodies, in the fact that the left iris reflects the health of the heart. And the right iris, because the liver is a little bit more centered to the right side, we're going to see the liver and gallbladder, as well as we'll see the pancreas in the right iris. And you can see that on this chart. Over here we have the liver, gallbladder, this little green thing, and then the pancreas. And then right below the pancreas we have the testes or the ovary, depending. And so again, as a reminder, this is a male client, and we are looking at any possible signs of challenge with reproduction. So let's go ahead and take a look at that area. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty clean. The pancreas, there does look to be a little bit of darkness in this area of the ovary testes. So that would be the right testes. That would be right in this area in here, but nothing major. You can see how it sort of defines itself, that little lacuna, that dark area. So it's just right in here. And then we also have, as I mentioned, in the left eye, we have a lot going on. This person has a lot going on in both sides, kidney and adrenal, and that's going to affect your whole entire body. So this would be the kidney. It's pretty dark in here. So the darker we get, the closer to degenerative. So you go from acute to subacute to chronic to degenerative. And I haven't seen anything that can't be, even in a degenerative state, restored to health. So I would say this isn't even in the degenerative state, but it's certainly into the chronic. And the kidney is going to be affecting your overall health as it is removing your metabolic waste, your cellular waste, and assisting the lymphatic system in removing, as the lymphatic system is seen as the sewer system. It does rely ultimately on the kidneys to complete that filtration process. And then when we're looking at any kind of anxiety, we're looking, or exhaustion, you know, yes, the thyroid does speak to our overall levels of energy, but the adrenals also. So, you know, there's that phenomena of adrenal fatigue, which is interesting because most people that describe their symptoms of adrenal fatigue, it's something where it's like they have zero, like very low energy throughout the day, even, and I've experienced this in my healing journey, where at some point in the afternoon, you absolutely cannot keep your eyes open. Like you're just completely exhausted. And that's something that people with adrenal fatigue describe. And then you go to bed and you lay in bed for 3 to 4 hours, at least 2. And all of the energy that you were hoping to have during the day that you did not have is there at night when you're trying to sleep. So the adrenals are interesting in that way. And something that came to me that I wanted to mention for this person, I think that's why I'm talking about this, is I know he's tried, so here we have the adrenal on the right side. I know he's tried the adrenal glandular, and that can go either way for people. For a lot of people, it will pick the adrenals up. For a lot of other people, it's actually too much, and it feels like it's giving you anxiety, and that's understandable. Something I was going to recommend just to try, if you haven't already, is an adaptogen for the adrenals. So I find this fascinating, but I rely on, especially, you know, throughout times of anxiety or healing crisis, I rely on ashwaganda, and that's an adaptogen, and it really calms my adrenals down. Now, other people including my dad. So we've had great conversations about this because he actually takes ashwagandha in the middle of the day to give him energy. So it helps inspire and perk up his adrenal glands. So, and it's not like a male-female thing. I've researched it. I can't find a whole lot of documented research on this, but my feeling is that the adaptogens, so we have ashwagandha, rhodiola, even Tulsi or the holy basil is also an adaptogen. For me, the most effective one is ashwagandha. So they affect everybody differently. For some people, they're too much. They give them a lot of energy. And for some people, they need that energy and they love them. And then for other people, they calm the adrenal glands down. So you may want to try that and just, see how it works for you. And yeah, and then otherwise you're just going to be approaching the kidney and adrenals just like we've been speaking to throughout the video, by alkalizing, by getting into a high fruit and greens diet. And the fruit is what is detoxifying and energizing, and it has the highest frequency and the most water content, just the most life. It's it's like reaching up to the stars when the fruit falls from a tree. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And then the greens are the more balancing, more alkalizing, mineralizing, grounding of the two. Okay, so I prefer to use both. All right, and then something else while I'm thinking of it is I'm sort of picking up maybe more intuitively for this person. So this is the whole lung area. In the left eye, the lungs are over here. In the right eye, they're over here. And really similar to the left eye, there is a little bit of markings. There are a few markings in the lung area. Right in here. Here. So the whole lung area. Nothing out of the norm. I mean, most of us have some stress. I haven't actually seen too many irises that don't have stress in the lung area. But I'm sort of seeing this person go for some spend some more time outside, breathing through the nose. That will help the anxiety. And just going for some nice leisurely walks in nature, where you're taking in that prana and you're re-energizing your cells and you're resetting your brain and your nervous system. And I think that's going to help sort of define your journey, your healing journey, if you can incorporate that into this path that you're on. Okay, so this is a whole lung area. And then again, just like in the left eye, we have a little bit going on in the ear. Actually, this is like we're getting into the shoulder, so there could be some chronic tension in that right shoulder. And then we have the neck and the ear next to that. So the neck would be right in here, and then the ear would be right in here. And I'm looking at that just because I did see something there on the left side, and we're addressing some concern with tinnitus and also vertigo. Okay, but again, I'm seeing that the cause of that is very likely coming from this fog or clouds or brain fog up in the head and brain area. And this fog in the right eye is a little bit more, it's turned from the bright white into the dull white, and it's starting to yellow. So that's showing us that it's going into the subacute, into the chronic. And So that would be this whole section in here, outside of the bowel wall. So the bowel wall, again, some challenges with the stomach and bowels. I highlighted that just a few minutes ago. So the same that was true on the left side is also true in the right in terms of the health of the digestive system. But I'm really seeing that there's brain fog in both irises, both sides of the brain, affecting this person's entire life. Even, this center right in here is we're getting into the vitality center, so that is speaking to the crown chakra, and then just the overall excitement, joy, vitality that you feel in day-to-day life. And that does look especially sort of cloudy in that area. And then we're also right next to it is sensory motor. So we don't actually have in the right side of the brain, we don't have the balance and dizziness center, but we do have sensory locomotion showing up. It's somewhat similar attributes or qualities found in that zone. And then the area that would be the balance and dizziness center in the left eye, when we see it in the right eye, it reflects as the mental and sex area. So let me see. I have all of the brain zones on my website if you want to read more about those. But so we have mental ability and sexuality, healthy sexuality, erogenous zones of the brain. So that area is showing up with some challenge, but it's interesting that it's reflective of balance and dizziness on the other side. So that's right in here. And then this area, this dark area here, is the mastoid process. So again, back of the ear. So we have ear and then back of the ear. And mastoid can be related to dizziness as well. This is all lung. So this is lungs in here. So just that, again, being in nature, slow, deep breathing, practicing some meditation when you can, you have time. Okay. Just a lot of congestion in the head and brain. And again, once you start to clear that out, you may see more radii solaris or lacuna show up in that area. But for now, we're just looking at clearing out that fog. Nose is coming up again. A little bit again in the eye. This area, this is the eye, and then the forehead. And then I want to show you this lacuna in here. Well, actually, I want to go back to that parathyroid thing that I was speaking to. You can see this sort of hooded eyelid dropping a little bit. And like I mentioned, this is a sign of connective tissue weakness. And I mean, you could get into some parathyroid glandular, but I would actually probably not do the parathyroid glandular right away. I would work on clearing out the lymphatic congestion, getting the kidneys filtering, and then that'll help a lot, just overall the health of the parathyroid. And it's not like we're going for cosmetic results at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's a sign, generally speaking, and you could have prolapsus in other areas of the body. Usually that is the case when you have a weak parathyroid. But in this iris in particular, this area right here, which I drew a little bit over it with the this is the bowel wall, but right in here is one of the first things I noticed about this eye is the parathyroid, and there's a little dark area on that parathyroid. It's right here. And then thyroid is right here. Vocal cords, thyroid, a lot of congestion here in the thyroid. But nothing, you know, degenerative, nothing super serious, but I could see how it would be affecting your life overall, thyroid. So if you want to check your thyroid, you can take your temperature, your underarm temperature for a period of days. I have this description on my website. Dr. Morse talks about it a lot too. You can research it online, and your basal temperature should give you an accurate reading of your thyroid hormones, even better than a blood test unless you get the full panel. So I've gone over that in other videos, but unless you're getting the full panel of thyroid hormones, oftentimes you're just going to be seeing what the pituitary, how the pituitary is doing and what kind of hormones the pituitary, which is the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay? All right, so back to the back. So this area is it's a distinct area. And like I mentioned, I feel like this person didn't mention anything like that to me, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was chronic tension in that back area. So we have back right here. This whole area you can see over here is the back. And right next to the back, we have some bladder stuff going on right in here. And then, let me get my Jensen chart. So we have bladder, and then again, we have the area where either the uterus or the prostate would be, which is right in here. So I wanted to mention that just because we're looking at any possible concerns with the male reproductive system. So we are seeing signs of a little bit of weakness in those areas. Testes came up, the prostate came up, I believe on both sides, and yep, both sides, but they're not anything out of alignment with the rest of the iris, so it's just going to be something that you are approaching on a systemic level. Now, if you want to research, and I can look more into the male reproductive formula, I think that might be helpful. But again, you know, you don't really want to be messing with your hormones until you've began to neutralize the acidity in your body. And then that might be a great approach, actually, to pick up some of the male reproductive. I believe it's not like a super stimulating. It might encourage testosterone production. That's why I'm saying, you know, it might be something that you're cautious with. You might just start it and see how you do with it. But I believe like saw palmetto would be one of the main ingredients in that formula, and that's actually going to be helping with the rest of the glands in the body as well. So, yeah, so we have bladder, prostate in this area, back in this area, and then the hip is coming up. I think it came up on the other side too, but there could be some tension in the hip. And then, of course, the kidney and adrenal. And so yeah, the liver looks pretty good. Not seeing any darkness or lacuna in that area, so that's great. And all right, let's just recap real quick on what kind of formulas this person I'm going to be recommending for him. So again, taking it pretty slow and working on the kidneys and the adrenals. So for the kidneys, you can be doing the kidney bladder tinctures or the capsules. It's up to you, whatever you prefer. And as well, dandelion, nettle. There's different herbs you can take singly or on their own. And I like to do those in green juices. Personally, dandelion and nettle they're nutritive herbs, so it's not like you could take a little more than you might need to, but you're not going to overdose on those plants. They are diuretics, so you need to watch out for that. But that's not going to affect that's going to be good for you, but you might have to urinate a lot more the more you take of those two plants. So yeah, kidneys, and then if you want to try ashwagandha, I would recommend that, or rhodiola, or holy basil, to see if that balances out the adrenal glands. And then other than that, I would go with the endocrine balance. See how you do with the endocrine balance. And that's a Dr. Morse formula. And, stomach and bowels in capsules, sure, maybe, but I would much prefer you taking the GI broom. You can do both. But the GI broom, I just find, you take it's a powder, so you take it in the morning or in the evening, and that'll start to help you clean out and balance and alkalize. The second ingredient in that formula is chickweed, which is really alkalizing, really calming, soothing, and cooling. And that would be another plant. Chickweed grows, it's one of those really pretty common weeds all throughout the world, really, except Antarctica. But yeah, that's second ingredient in the GI broom. And then lymphatic system, in terms of herbs, cleavers, again, super common weed. I've been using that in my green juices every morning while it's fresh and I can find it. And that's found in all of the Dr. Morse lymphatic formulas. I will say that of all the formulas and herbs that really kind of can kick your butt, the lymphatic formulas are those formulas. So I would really focus on the kidneys and bladder, getting the kidneys filtering, alkalizing your body, and then gently approaching the lymphatic system. And you can go deeper and harder into that lymphatic system as time goes on and you start feeling more stable. And then, yeah, if you want to try the male reproductive formula, just to see how you do on it. But I do think that alkalizing and bringing your body into harmony through your diet and lifestyle is going to get you back to that place that you would like to be in. Okay, I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, yes, there is some congestion in the sclera, some inflammation, actually some signs of liver congestion right in here. Didn't see much going on in the liver, but we can always, as a vital organ connected with the digestive system, and we are focusing on the digestive system, that will be something that naturally begins to heal itself also. All right, if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. I hope you're all well. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye.